There is a strong family suspicion that the man in this mysterious portrait, John D. Herr, is John Herr Bailey's real father. The portrait hung over John Bailey's fireplace throughout his lifetime. The portrait has acquired an almost sacred place in the family. John Bailey's will requested that the portrait of John D. Herr be forever passed on to the oldest living direct descendant. Why? There is a family resemblance. You're the latest John Herr, and that's the John Herr. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I think he's my grandpa, but I'm not too sure. I'll never know. I'll never know.
Your father never knew, right?
No, my father never knew, and I'll never know. There he is. Looks like my eyes, I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
And Mary Kennedy has the same nose, too.
Yeah.
John Bailey's mother, the mysterious Mary Kennedy, whose background is also completely lost to time. This is where it all happened, in Baileytown, settled by Edward Bailey around 1799, where generations of Baileys raised their families, went to school and church, and died. Life went on in Baileytown until the Second World War, when the Army Air Corps needed a bombing practice range. The U.S. government condemned their land, paid each family the land's worth, and moved them off their farms and their homesteads. Every last Bailey was removed from Baileytown. The Army Air Corps then used each well-loved home, barn, and cornfield as a target for bombing and strafing practice. Baileytown ceased to exist. My Aunt Verna was born in Baileytown and remembers it well. I asked her for a tour. My tour of Baileytown was none too soon, for the following spring, March 31, 1993, Aunt Verna left us.
Well, this is where all the children of Granddad Bailey's had after he had his second marriage.
What was his first name?
Enos.
Enos.
And he also had a son, Enos. It was Enos Jr., naturally. And they had several children here, and he had quite a farm with all different animals, ducks and chicken, sheep, everything else. He had a beautiful place here. It was all green and farm down there with his corn and everything. It was really a lovely, lovely corner.
And the government took it all away.
The government took away when World War II came.
Well, this was a two-story barn.
Uh-huh. It was beautiful. He kept it painted red, you know, and trimmed it white, and he was so proud of everything. Took very good care of it, and his house too.
Who are you talking about?
Granddad Bailey. And when he married, I don't know what her last name was, Hannah. That would be Dad's step-grandmother after his mother passed away. He had 6 or 7 children with her, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Can't remember half of them now. It was Uncle Ralph, Enos Jr., Edna.
Edna Sharp.
They would all be in the book, right?
Yeah, they're in the book.
Now, tell me about the farm. There was buildings here.
Yeah,
there was a couple big barns.
And yeah, there was chicken coops over here.
Chicken coops, and he had horses, and of course he
Turkeys.
worked with the horses.
Turkeys, geese,
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that.
and a bunch of sheep.
Oh, he had a lot of sheep. He must have had hundreds of sheep.
Yeah.
And he's your father's brother?
No. His
No,
wife.
Only his dad's
Elizabeth.
half-sister married him. And
was Aunt Lizzie.
married Uncle Owen.
Okay.
And for quite a while, Uncle Owen's mother and father lived next door.
They did?
I remember when they died.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah. This over and forced them to move and actually killed Uncle Owen.
Did it?
Because he didn't want to give up this farm. And they had to move. The government said you have to go. So they did, and they moved over along the river.
Went down in the cellar, underneath the floor. That's probably it right there.
Now this is the original cabin that John Herr was born in.
I'm not sure that he was born here, but he lived here.
It said, yeah, it said in the paper. I think it said in the paper that he was born
I
here.
guess he was, yeah. They had that cellar as protection to hide in from the Indians.
Uh-huh. Huh. I wonder if that tree belonged to the house.
They shoot him.
Right across there.
Boy,
He was a cousin. Dad gave him that home, and he worked for Dad for the many years. Yeah.
Talking about everybody being born.
Our whole family was born here,
Really? Except for...
except Florence and Jack. Ogden, Paul, Carl, Verna, Pearl, and Raymond were all born here.
All born here.
And Florence and I were born in Mauricetown.
Right. And this was really quite a place. He had the sawmill and the home he built himself right in back of this big tree. And he put swings on the tree, and that's where we used to get our amusement. We'd swing on that tree. And the schoolhouse was a little ways down the road.
Long ways down the road. Now he boarded here, that school teacher?
She boarded at Granddad's up on the hill
Oh.
where we were.
Okay.
She boarded there. Mother couldn't handle her with all the kids she was having, and not only that, she helped fire the boiler. She'd have maybe a real young baby, a young child, and she'd put it out like in the sawdust pile, and she would fire the boiler and help him out that way. It was just the two of them when they started, and then it got pretty big, so he hired a lot of different ones, mostly in the family. Uncle Ralph and his half-brother, and another Bailey, Elwood. There were several of them. He gave them all jobs.
Yeah.
And they did very well. But in order to get a little more money in, they had a store. They sold like bread and milk and just little things like that, canned goods and so forth. And we also used to have a truck come in here. Well, it wasn't exactly a truck, I don't know what you'd call it. A man with clothes, new clothes. And he'd always stop here, and we'd rather get around that darn thing and see if there wasn't something we'd like to have.
To wear.
To wear, yeah. They were new. And, you know, they used to do that with the clothes, go around from door to door.
No,
And that, he did that. And his name was Schaefer from Louisville. I'm sorry you can't go in there, John, because you'd probably see some results of the sawdust pile. It was a huge sawdust pile. You remember when they had a big, yeah, a huge sawdust pile. I remember one time when Paul and I, they never could get along too well, you know, Jack. And there was an old elderly man who lived somewhere along here. I don't know. Well, anyhow, that was Mother's father. Yeah, she wasn't, Dad didn't want her to know it. They told Dad they didn't want her to know it, but Uncle, Aunt Florence's husband, I forget his first name now, lived near us there in Mauricetown. He came over, we were all eating supper, and he came over and he said, Lizzie, it's too bad your dad died. And Dad says, you get out of here. He says, I didn't want her to know that till tomorrow morning. She'll want to go tonight. And, well, and actually it shocked her terribly, shocked all of us, because a death was something unusual in those days, you know. So anyhow, it was in the wintertime, and the next day Dad rigged up the horse and carriage, and we all got in there, wrapped up in blankets and quilts and everything else.
Was I born?
No, you weren't born, or Jack either. And this road, all the way from here out to Haleyville, was nothing but frozen mud with ruts, just like this. And Mother handled that horse, I'll tell you. She really did.
What was Dad doing?
He was working in the sawmill.
Oh,
Gosh,
he didn't come with you?
Not to see him. We came to just view him and see Grandmother. We came to the funeral, but Dad did too, but that wasn't the funeral. She insisted she had to come up here. And
Tell me about these people.
well, Mary K. Bailey was our Dad's mother, and this was our grandfather, Enos L. Bailey, and they had two children, Mary Kay, and she and Granddad, she was Dad's mother, had two children, Florence and John.
Mm-hmm.
And then Granddad Bailey married again and married Hannah D. Bailey, and he had several children by her. I don't know if I remember them all or not, but it was Enos and Gertrude, Edna, Ralph. I think that was it.
And this is the Haleyville Cemetery?
This is the Haleyville Cemetery, yeah.
In 1911, John built this house with lumber from the sawmill in Baileytown and moved his growing family from Baileytown to this house in Mauricetown.
We all went to. They had 8 grades, but I spent 9 years here because we had a substitute teacher in 6th grade, and we didn't work all year, and when our regular teacher came back, she flunked me, and all the rest of the boys. So we had to go another year. I was upstairs and down. The first 4 grades were downstairs, and the other 4 were upstairs. 2 different teachers.
Just 2 teachers for 4 grades.
Yeah.
Huh.
2 teachers for 8 grades. 2 down, 1 teacher downstairs and 1 teacher upstairs.
Uh-huh.
And we used to play baseball over in this lot over here.
John H. Bailey was completely different from the rest of the Baileys in Baileytown. They were all farmers. John wanted nothing to do with farming. They were largely uneducated and contented with the simple life. Not John. He wanted to teach, to go to college, to have his own business. He wanted money. His sawmill business grew into a basket business to provide shipping containers for the South Jersey farmers. He called it J.H. Bailey & Sons, but everybody in South Jersey just called it Bailey Baskets. He bought out basket factories in Vineland and Bridgeton and placed his sons as managers of the various plants. The name changed to Jersey Package Company when they added a plywood division. At its zenith, the Jersey Package Company even had a plant out of Jersey in Berlin, Maryland. The company was large and important. John's entrepreneurship was boundless. While most would be satisfied with running a large, successful corporation, John started another, the Bailey Coal Company. The coal company changed to Bailey Fuel when fuel oil became the home heating choice. At the zenith of the fuel company, John's trucks were servicing most of Vineland and Millville's homes and offices. John's Florida vacation home even had its own orange grove. He grew and shipped juice oranges in Bailey baskets, of course. On holidays, John gathered his sons around him, and the talk was of business. There was Jack, Raymond, Carl, John, Ogden, and Paul. The woman behind the man, the matriarch of the family, was Elizabeth Lake Trout. She raised the family, fired the boilers, licked the wounds, and smiled through the family gatherings. A loving, simple woman, she probably longed for a farm in Baileytown. Ogden was the first son of John and Elizabeth. He was born in Baileytown. Ogden was a lifelong avid gardener and photographer. Most of these movies were taken by Ogden. He married Emma Virginia Berry and was general manager of Jersey Package Company, president of Berlin Veneer Works, and vice president of Bailey Coal Company. Emma and Ogden had 2 children, a son, Norman Walter, whose life was cut short at the age of 42 by a tragic automobile accident, and Nancy Virginia. Paul Boyd Bailey, the second child of John H. and Elizabeth, was also born in Baileytown. Paul was president of Jersey Package Company and vice president of Berlin Veneer Works. John placed him in charge of sales for the corporation. Paul married Alice Gates Sharp. They had 4 children: Verna Mary, Patricia Ann, Brenda Alice, and 1 boy, Paul Boyd Jr., of course. Paul Sr. was found in his car, slumped over the steering wheel, dead at the age of 66. He had apparently been hunting. Carl, the 3rd son of John H. and Elizabeth, was born in Baileytown. He was the manager of the Bridgeton plant of the Jersey Package Company. He married Grace A. Kelly. They had 3 children: Carl Lewis Jr., Elizabeth Ann, known as Betty Ann, and Myrna Joy. They were divorced in 1940, and Carl remarried Elizabeth Finlaw Elwell. Carl and Elizabeth had 1 child, a son, Tiffany Bruce. Verna, the first daughter of John and Elizabeth, was also born in Baileytown. She had many interests and pursued them vigorously. She played the organ beautifully. She was an artist and painted with great sensitivity. Darrell, her husband, was foreman of the Violin plant, Jersey Package Company. They had no children. She was an accomplished horsewoman. She and her husband Darrell trained prize-winning Tennessee Walker horses. Their ranch on Walnut Road in Vineland was the site of many Bailey family picnics. She was a family historian.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
How am I supposed to go through this?
I have an idea. They did the same thing the Eagles did. I know the Giants.
All of this?
The Eagles never was a star. Giants always.
That's right.
Pearl, the second daughter of John and Elizabeth, was also born in Baileytown and attended Vineland Business School. She married Reverend Edmund Steelman on October 12, 1935, a Methodist minister. Today, Pearl and Edmund live in Texas, where Edmund ministers. These pictures were taken in Texas. Edmund performed the wedding ceremonies for Verna and Darrell, Carl and Elizabeth, and Jack and Virginia. They have 3 children: Jane Esther, Janet Elaine, and John Edmund. Raymond, the sixth child of John and Elizabeth, was also born in Baileytown. He was manager of the Millville plant, Jersey Package Company, and secretary of Bailey Fuel Company. He married Edna May Amel on July 2, 1932. They had two children, John Raymond and Frank Arthur. Following their divorce, Raymond remarried Claire Bellamy. They had one son, William Michael. After his divorce from Claire, Raymond remarried Louise Romer Watson in 1982. Florence, the third daughter of John and Elizabeth, is the first child not to be born in Baileytown. Florence was born in Mauricetown. She graduated from the University of Delaware. She married Andrew Charles Knopf, Andy, on Christmas Eve, December 24, 1937. Andy worked at the Vineland plant Jersey Package Company. They have two daughters, Margaret Ellen, known as Peggy, and her younger sister, Lois. Jack, as John Jr. was called, was the eighth and last child of John and Elizabeth. Like his sister Florence, he was born in Mauricetown. Jack graduated from Bordentown Military Academy and became manager of Berlin Veneer Works in Maryland. In Berlin, he met and married Evelyn Virginia Davis. During World War II, Jack served with the U.S. Army Air Corps and attained the rank of sergeant. He is the only one of the brothers to serve in the military. Jack and Virginia have one child, a daughter, Marguerite. And John H. Bailey Sr., having raised his family and built an empire, he remarried to a younger woman, Margaret Fox. Not everyone approved, but no one said a word. John was his own man. And John Herr, why, he just looked on from above the mantel, just as he always has. On this peaceful hillside in Millville, New Jersey, John H. Bailey is gathering his family about him for one last time.